Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. Welcome to the next installment, I think it's number 4, in our Let's Learn Lenormand Together series. As a reminder, this is a Let's Learn Together. I am not coming to teach, although I will happily share anything I do know. I'm coming here to sort of like share what I've learned, what's working for me. I'm going to share some resources and such, and then we're going to do some exercises together, including getting to know cards 19 through 24. So those are the next 6 cards in the series. We've been doing chunks of 6 at a time, getting to know them, getting really comfortable with them. And as we learn each new group of 6, the deck we're working with and practicing with is getting a little bigger because we're only working with the cards that we have gotten to know so far. So with that said, let's get into it. Let's do a quick review of what we have covered so far, and then we will jump into the new cards. So I have a few different Lenormand decks. We're also going to do an exercise today. So every time we go over a new group of cards, I also introduce a new exercise that I've either just encountered, that I've been using for a long time, or whatever. We're just throwing another exercise out. We've been slowly building those exercises in layers of complexity. So if you are just jumping into this series now, I highly recommend watching the videos that preceded this one, particularly if you are new to Lenormand. So I have been using the Bunny Kisses Lenormand, which I will have linked down below, as my sort of training wheels Lenormand deck. Y'all know I'm a big fan of that process. So I've been writing on here, on each card, my personal keywords, or the keywords that I think make sense to me, for what that card means. So let's have a quick review of the cards we've done so far. So actually, yeah, I'm just going to hold it up. We'll deal. It's fine. I might move it a little bit, but that's all right. So we have the writer, which for me is like news and information. This can be a type of communication, but usually it's coming into us. So news and information coming into us. So I have news and info. Clover, which is card 2. I have luck, and this is often short-term luck or a little bit of luck. It's like a little dose of something good. Travel and journey, and also vehicle, are the keywords I use for ship, which is card 3. Home, family, and security are words that I use for card 4, which is house. Growth, health, and longevity are words I use for tree. I encountered an interesting thing about tree in a video today. In some systems or in some schools of thought, the tree is considered to be like sort of a negative card, depending on how close or far away it is from you in like a big spread, or your querent card. And I thought that was interesting. I'd actually not encountered that before. I think it was in a Tony Savory video, if I remember correctly. But she was talking about how the tree is typically, its general sense is negative. Something's not growing, not going well, not healthy, unless it's quite far from your significator querent card. And again, I hadn't encountered that before, so I do want to share it in case you want to dig into that more. For me, this card is neutral to positive, and is usually about growth, health, and longevity. It can obviously be negative in any of those areas if it's surrounded by negative cards or is affected or impacted by negative cards. But I always take it in context, and otherwise I typically read this as a fairly neutral card. Again, your mileage may vary. I definitely encourage you to read other people's viewpoints about Lenormand. Watch or read as much content as you can and decide what makes sense for you. I did a lot of back and forth, for example, with the snake. I'll get to that in a moment. But for now, those are the keywords I'm using: growth, health, and longevity. Clouds, troubled mind, confusion, and doubt. There's obscurity in the situation. So those are my keywords here for clouds, which is card 6. Here we have snake. So betrayal, lies, and envy. Now, for a lot of people, the snake is maligned in Lenormand. And I actually went through a phase of this where I viewed snake as a card that symbolized transformation, shedding one's skin, wisdom, because that is a different layer to what this particular symbology can mean. But I ended up reverting over time back to a more, I guess, traditional approach to this card, which has it being like a snake in the grass, something being nasty, betrayal, lies, envy, but it's obvious you're dealing with a snake when you're dealing with a snake. I think it's useful to have a card like this in the deck, and none of the other cards quite filled this space, so I did revert this card back to that. But my suggestion with Lenormand cards is whatever you decide, and you can totally break the rules. I always say this, you can break the rules, but whatever you pick, try to be consistent and read with that card that way for a length of time before you determine if you need to change it some more. So whatever you pick, stick with it, be consistent. And then you can decide long term if it's working for you or not. For card 8, we have coffin, which is I have ending and loss. Card 9 is bouquet. I have gratitude, beauty, big gift, recognition. We throw flowers at people on stage. We give bouquets to people who've accomplished something as a recognition of their accomplishment. But it's also a way we show our gratitude. So I've got several words on this card. For scythe, cutting, quick, sharp are words that I have on here, and this is card 10. Card 11 is whip, often the whip and broom, or broom and whip card, depending on how it's written. Here we just see a whip, and so I wrote in parentheses, broom and then my words here are pattern, repetition, conflict, and aggression. For birds, we have a pair, so it's like two people or a small group, communication and chatter within that group. So this can also be like gossip, that sort of thing. Child, I have innocence and beginning. I tend to think of the child card in a very fool-like context. I also wrote new here in small letters. Then for fox, we have cunning, manipulative, and strategic. This is an interesting card. This is a very sort of King of Swords-y energy for me. This is somebody who's very cunning. Yes, he or she can be manipulative, but this can also just be smart thinking. I also have over here on the side entrepreneur, because I do sometimes see the fox as the entrepreneur card. Bear, we have power and authority, strength, and manager. I like the word manager for bear. This is like a managerial energy, the bear. Very protective, that kind of thing. Then we have stars. I have all kinds of words. I have hope, wishes, and guidance as my main ones. I also have multiplication and spreading along the side here, because that is another aspect of the star or stars card that I tend to notice in readings. Then we had stork. So I have migration and changes. The stork brings the baby, brings change. There's also a migratory element to the stork who is going to fly off and go in new directions. And then we have dog, and here I have loyal friend, trusted person for dog. This is your person, your people, right? So let's get into our new cards. So I'm going to rely primarily on Cute Little Lenormand for this. Again, I've been using this resource the most of all my Lenormand resources, even though I have read the big thick book by Rana George. I also really recommend this book, The Language of Lenormand by Erica Robinson. Erica really knows her stuff. This is also very good, but I continue to come back again and again to Cute Little Lenormand. It's quite a good book, and it does come with an adorable deck, which has a unicorn rider, so you knew I was going to buy it anyway. So I will share my keywords here as we go along, but let's just do a quick little review of this. So in Cute Little Lenormand, it says that the tower is isolation, guardedness, and boundaries. And what I picked here are systems and corporations, isolation, hierarchy, and boundaries. I really like the word boundaries here. It talks a little bit about how when you're high in the tower, you're protected and guarded, and you can look out and really understand the lay of the land. The write-ups in here are very, 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 very good, by the way. It also talks about like what surrounds the tower in your tableau to give insight into where you could use some boundaries, resetting, or detachment. We're going to be digging into this section a lot more when we get into more tableau style reading. And then we have the garden. So here it says key themes: a gathering, a social event, networking, public interaction, being out and about. So for me, in my garden, I have keywords are big groups and meetings and the public. So I tend to think of the garden as a meeting place, which it does talk about here: a gathering, a social event, networking, and public interaction. What I need to remember as a learning tool with this card is it's not necessarily about the place where the meeting has taken place, even though it's called garden. It's about the meeting itself or the gathering itself. It's about the peopling of it all. And that is what garden tends to represent. Then we have mountain. Mountain is card 21. And so here I have a long uphill climb. I often think of not Mary Poppins. What am I thinking of? The Sound of Music with this card. And just what a trek, what a journey it was for that family. And so I have obstacles and long uphill climb as my two main things that I write here. And this says long uphill climb, obstacle, diversion, or stumbling block to overcome. And then we have the path or the crossroad. Depending on your deck, it might call itself a crossroad, might call itself the path or the ways, things like that. My keywords on here are choices or a splitting or two of something, which is very interesting. Oh, sorry, I'm out of frame. Which was an interesting thing that I encountered when I was like listening to DonnaLeigh de la Rose, who, as you know, is one of my favorite resources for Lenormand. In here it says decisions to be made, choices, or an emotional crossroad. Typically the ways or the crossroad, the road, the path, This is definitely about that forking off and having to decide which way you're going to go. I like the idea also of a split because the path is splitting. So sometimes there's an idea of things going off in two directions to keep in mind with that card. Next, we have the mice. And so keywords I have on my card are little problems become big problems. I literally have little problems become big probs because I was like shortening it. Then we have stress and taking away. The easiest way for me to remember the mice card is that they're always nibbling away at something. They're always taking something away. The key themes listed here in cute little Lenormand are stress and anxiety, destructive behavior. Oh, and little problems becoming big problems, which is probably why I wrote that on there. And then after mice, we have our last card that we're adding today, and it is heart. Heart is exactly what you would think it is. It's love, romance, generosity, and caring, harmony, and emotional security. And on mine, I have love and romance and caring as my 3 words that I've written on the card. So those are the next group of 6 that we're covering today. So that gives us a quick little snapshot of what these cards can mean. So that's what we're looking at. Now, one of the exercises that we've been doing, inspired, heavily inspired from like straight up, this is what I do to learn the numbers, is I watch DonnaLeigh de la Rosa's series on memorizing the numbers of the cards. So I'm going to turn a page here because I find that it really helps, and it will especially help when we get in today's exercise if you know what number is what card. That's going to come in really handy, especially when we get into like grand tableau and tableau style reading where you're factoring in, we're going to talk about that in a minute, where you're factoring in not just the card you're looking at, but what spot it's in the tableau, because that spot is the same number as what's on the card. I'll explain way better hopefully in a moment. So to recap, let's go back over some of our prior notes if I can find them. Yeah, like here's one. Here's this will be a bit of a recap. So the 1 is easy for me. It's the initiator. I think of this as like the Paul Revere, the person who's initiating. They're bringing the news. So they're first to get you the news first thing in the morning. So it's easy for me to remember that 1 is the writer. For Clover, yeah, let's just review together. For Clover, and it's very helpful for memory, by the way, if you actually draw this. And DonnaLeigh talks about that a lot in her videos. Her videos are great for just doing a drill on this, but we're going to do it together. So the clover is easy because a clover is, each petal of a clover or each leaf is shaped like that, right? So there's a 1, 2, there's 2 little bumps, 1, 2. So the clover is 2. There's 2. There are always these little 2s. So there's a 2, there's a 2. I know they look like, we're not going to get into my terrible drawing, but that's how I remember that one. Then we have the ship, and the easiest way to remember, I think, is DonnaLeigh's method here, where if you turn a 3 sideways, you get this business. You just keep doing them. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Those are waves. That's the ship. The house is easy, number 4, because there are 4 sides to a square / structure / house. Very easy to remember. I think of like stability, structure. 4s are very easy for me, typically to remember. The 5, the method we learned from DonnaLeigh de la Rose, was to draw a really rudimentary Christmas tree like that. Super simple. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little points on that rudimentary Christmas tree. Hopefully I'm zoomed in enough for you to get the gist. Clouds were also made up of 6s. So if you draw a bunch of 6s and put them together, you get this cloud shape. It's really easy to remember once you draw it out yourself. For me, the snake, I literally just remember snake and 7. There's some alliteration there. But then also, if you draw a 7 and you make it a little wiggly and stick a tongue on the tip of your 7, you have a snake. So there's our little snake, the 7. Coffin, DonnaLeigh's tip is the, oh, wow, look at me. I'm like, I must have been waving my pen around. I got to be careful because I dropped some ink on my paper. Anyway, the coffin is easy because we have a 8. An 8 on its side is an infinity symbol. Death, rebirth, and life again. We have the life and death cycle, that infinity symbol. The bouquet is also one we can draw. If you draw a 9, and I like to add a line to it, but you don't have to do it. If you add a line to it, it's very obvious that this is a bouquet. Or you can just draw the 9, and you can think that's a flower on a stem, right? So there's our 9. Our 9 is bouquet, it's flowers. For 10, this is the scythe. The easiest way for me, because I'm a tarot person, to remember this is that the 10 of swords is the stabbiest card. It's very sharp and pokey, as is the scythe. The scythe is about cutting. It's about something sharp. The 10 of swords is very stabby. So I just remember that the 10 is the scythe because I think about that cutting or that stabbing of the 10 of swords. Then we have the broom and the whip. So again, in a lot of decks, like in this one, we have two objects, a broom and a whip. Both objects are long. And so DonnaLeigh's method is two long objects side by side, broom and whip, right? Two long objects side by side or crossing, whatever. But so that's an 11. You can also remember it by the repetition. You just keep drawing ones because this card is all about repetition, doing the same thing again and again, striking that whip or swishing that broom again and again and again. It's that repetition. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 makes it easier to remember. For birds, the easiest way I know of to do this is to literally imagine a dozen eggs in a carton. Dozen is 12, birds is 12, birds lay eggs, eggs 12. Child, for me, 13 is easy because 13 is the age at which we stop being a child and become a teenager. So that is like the end of childhood happens at 13. The card's not about the end of childhood, it's about being a child, being in that new energy. But it just makes it easy for me to remember that 13 is the child. So back to DonnaLeigh's methods. For the fox, she does this a lot with the teen cards. So once we have a 1 and a something. So here we have a 1 and we have a 4. Well, we know 4 is a house, right? And so the 1 is something that goes in the house. And so she sees it as a fox in the house. You could think of that as fox in the hen house, or you could do fox in a hole, and you could think of a fox hole. And there is actually a foxhole in a lot of the traditional fox cards. So if I go to 14, we're going to see the little foxhole in the background in the card. So there is like the fox and its hole or its home. So we have that fox in the house. So if we know 4 is house, and then we know that 14 is fox. You can also use the alliteration of F for fox and F for 14. That's another way to remember it. Then we have bear, and we use the same methodology, right? We have a tree up here. Tree was 5. And again, this is all DonnaLeigh's tips, or DonnaLeigh's tips, sorry. We have our 5. And the bear, so that 1 is standing beside the tree or going behind the tree. So what's going behind the tree? The bear. So when you see 1 and 5, you're thinking about the tree. What's next to the tree? The bear. Then we have stars, and it's the same sort of deal. We have 1 and 6, 16 for stars. Well, clouds are 6. And what do clouds cover? They cover stars. So we have stars, or excuse me, we have clouds. We have all these stars. So our thing that's associated with the clouds is stars. So 1 and 6 is the stars behind the clouds. The stork, this is another alliteration for one for me. Stork is 17. So I go stork, I go 17, S and S. I'll remember it that way. But also the position of the stork is also kind of 7-like. Where did it go? 17. So much like how the snake is in that shape, that 7 shape, I feel like the stork is also in that shape. So here we have the beak, we have the head, we have the body, we have its legs, right? So we have a sort of a 70 shape. They don't always look like this, but when they do, it really helps to remember that. So 17 is the stork. Then we have 18. 18 is our dog. This is our forever friend. So we just remember the 8, the forever and ever of the coffin card, but we're thinking of forever, that infinity symbol. And what's forever? Our dog friend. Our dog friend is our forever friend. And then we get on to our new cards. So now we have Tower. So for Tower, the way that DonnaLeigh remembers it is she does the same thing. She goes, what's our object? What's our 9 card? Our 9 card is our bouquet. So we have flowers. And so she thinks of trees sitting on top of buildings and stuff. Like they'll plant a little garden or whatever. So you'll have this tall building and they'll plant a tree or a flower bed or a little garden up on the roof of the building. So she thinks rooftop garden. That's working for me for now. It doesn't stick as well. I was trying to think if there could be another one, but because 9 is the bouquet, I'm not so sure. I haven't come up with anything else yet. So 19 is our tower, and we could think of that tree on the tower, or excuse me, a tree is going to confuse it. Think of flowers on a tower. Because those are going to think 15, because we're going to think tree on a tower. So no, think about how on top of a building there's flowers. Maybe we think about climbing that corporate ladder, and when you get to the top, you have that recognition, so you're given bouquets. I don't know. There's different ways we could maybe think of it. If anybody has any brilliant ideas for remembering 19 for tower, let me know, because this is one I have struggled with. Then we have garden. DonnaLeigh's for this is perfect. We know that 2, if we recall over here, 2 is the clover. Well, if you plant a whole lot of clovers all over the place, lots of clovers. These are terrible. These are like just hints of clovers. You have a whole garden of clovers. So if you just multiply your clover times 10, you're going to have a garden of clovers. So easy to remember that way. Then we have mountain. Now DonnaLeigh's for this is the age 21, because this is card 21. And at 21, you've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. This is, I'm just drawing her doodles. I'm literally just copying. I always watch the video right before this so I can like refresh myself and remind you guys what, but I really recommend you watch it yourself because it's so much better when you do it with her. But 21 is that uphill climb, and then you hit that point, you're like, finally, I can buy alcohol or whatever. I don't care about that though. For me, what I was thinking is I went back to clover again, because we've got clover and then we've got this 1, which represents to me a tall thing. So if we used a tall thing in the 19 to represent the tower, so the 1 is the tower and the 9 is the bouquet or the flowers that go on top of the tower. Here we have a tower, we have something tall, and what's on top of it? A bunch of clovers. So if we have a bunch of clovers on top of something really tall, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of a mountaintop. So that works a little bit better for me than the age 21, but the age 21 is also great. It's that long uphill climb till you get to be 21. But I like to bring it back to nature, so I think of just clovers going up to the top of a high place. And that's how I get 21. But again, if you think of anything else great for any of these, please leave them in the comments down below. And then we have path. This is easy because it's a repeating number. We have 2 and 2. We have 2 choices. We have 2 paths. 2 choices, 2 paths, 2 options. So path or road or ways being card 22. Path over here is a 2. The path over there is a 2. Neither path is obviously necessarily better than the other, but we have to pick one. Okay. Then we have mice, mices, and DonnaLeigh's works great for this. If you draw a really floofy, bubbly 2 and a really floofy, bubbly 3, you sort of get a mouse. And she draws it different. She sees this is just the face. I like to do it like this. This is the mouse's tail, and here's the mouse's exaggerated ears. There. I drew a mouse out of the number 23. So it just makes it easier for me to remember. So 2, oops, I did it wrong. Big bubbly 2 and a 3. And we get a little micey with a tail coming out the back. That's how I like to look at it. But 23 is mice. And then we have heart. And again, DonnaLeigh's here is great. We have 24. Well, 2 people come together. So 2 plus 2. And you get 4. So 2 multiplied. So 2 people multiply their love. They have 4. We have the heart. We have romance. We have 2 and 4. These are pairing numbers, right? 2 plus 4. I was just wondering if we could get anywhere else with this. Equals 6. Does 6 connect to anything? That's clouds. That's not helpful. But yeah, 2 goes into 4 twice. So you can go, you need 2 people or 2 2s to make a 4. So that works for me. Oh, and I flipped that guy over. So that is all 24 of the cards. That's our refresher on the number. We're going to do a little quiz for ourselves here in a second. I'm going to shuffle out our Grand Tableau Lenormand, and then we're going to work on today's exercise. So first, let's shuffle and do a little pop quiz on all of our numbers and see if we can remember by looking at the card, because this card doesn't have any titles on it. It's just got the numbers at the top. So I'm just going to cover up the numbers and we'll go through them and just do a little quiz. So I'll try to remember to speak slowly so you have a second to, I'm going to turn this like that. There we go. So you have a second to sort of guess. So we're going to begin with the mice. Mice are what number? Mice are 23. 23. Then we have birds. Birds are what number? Birds are 12. Sorry, I should show you 12. Next, we have the rider. Rider is what number? Rider is number 1. Scythe. Do you remember what number scythe is? Scythe is number 10. Next, we have the broom and the whip. Do you remember what number that is? Broom and whip are number 11. Next, we have heart. Heart is number 24. Next, we have clovers. Clovers are number 2. Coffin. Remember the number for coffin. Coffin is number 8. You're going to be so grateful for this skill, I promise. Next we have stork. Do you remember the number for stork? Stork is number 17. We have ways or path or crossroad. What number is that? Ways. I don't think this might be something else. We're going to check in a second. Actually, I'm going to peek. Bear with me. I was wrong. This isn't ways. I saw the paths and got confused. This is one of the reasons why it's good to know the numbers. This is actually the garden. The garden is what number? Garden is what number? The garden is 20. It's 2 clovers times 10. You have a little garden of clovers. That was how I remember that one. Next we have tower. I talked about this a lot. It is actually helpful, and this actually just gave me a trick. I'm going to tell you the trick as soon as I reveal the number, but this one is what number? Do you remember? 19. Let me show you the trick I just realized looking at this card. So this card actually shows a flag sitting on top of the tower, and it's not a flower, but if you draw a tower with a flag on top, and if that's how you picture the card, then if your flag is flapping in the breeze, then we have, that's our 9, and that's our 1. So the tower is the shape of 1, and the flag on top, that's a 9. So that might be an easier way for me to remember this in the future. I just noticed that just now looking at this particular tower because there is a flag on top. And I was like, oh, hey, that's our 9 right there, the little flag. Okay, next we have bear. Do you remember the number for bear? The number for bear is 15. Next we have stars. What covers the stars? The clouds. Our number for stars is 16. Oh, and there's our clouds card. So we should remember this one. Clouds are 6. Snake. We have another alliteration here. Snakes are number 7. 7 for snake. I literally feel like I'm in the middle of a Sesame Street show all of a sudden. Next we have dog. Dog is our forever friend. Dog is 18. Next we have child. You're a child until you're what age? 13. Next we have mountain. We have that long uphill climb. Mountain is 21. Now we have paths or ways or crossroad, and that one is 22. Next we have bouquet, recognition and gratitude, and our bouquet of flowers is number 9. We have ship. Ship is on waves of water that look like 3s. Number 3 for ship. Next we have fox. Fox in the hole. Fox is 14. House, very solid structure. House is number 4. And finally we have tree, and tree has 5 points. Number 5. So those are all the cards that we have learned so far. So let's do it the other way around this time. I'm going to shuffle them up. We're going to flip them around. Again, I highly recommend you check out the resources in the description box down below because all these techniques I have learned elsewhere. Flashcards are helpful for this too, but I like this deck because there's no words on it, so it does the trick. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to slip this into the thing so that we can only see the number. We'll be able to see a little bit of the playing card association, but I don't know those. Do you know those? So let's do the same trick, but do it backwards. We won't be able to see the card. We'll just be able to see the number. Beginning with number 11. Quick, guess while you can. We have the broom and whip. Next we have card number 8. Guess while you can. One more chance. And it is the coffin. Next we have card 17. Do you remember what 17 was? Stork. Next we have 15. Do you remember 15? Bear. Next we have 16. Do you remember what 16 was? Stars. 10. Card 10. Oh, hold on. I'm stumped for a second. Give me a second. What was 10? Oh, I remember 10 now. 10 is scythe for 10 of swords. All right, next up is 9. Do you remember 9? 9 is bouquet. Next up, we have 23. Do you remember the 23? Mice. Next, we have 12. What is there 12 of? Eggs. 12 is birds. 19, we were just talking about this one. What is our 19? It is our tower with the flag on top. Next, we have 1. Who's always first, or what's always first? The news. News wants to be first. We have the rider. Then we have 3. 3s are our waves under our ship. Next we have 14. We have our fox in the hole for 14. Next we have 6. What is our 6? Clouds. What about 7? After 6 comes the 7, which is the snake. I'm such a dork, y'all. I'm so sorry. Okay, anyways, next we have 24. This is one of our new ones, so take a second if you need it, but 24, 2 plus 2 equals 4. We have our heart. Next we have 2. 2 is our clover. Next we have 21. What is 21? Another new one. That one is our mountain. 21 is mountain. 22. 2 and 2. So there's a 2 of something. What do we have? We have 2 paths or ways or the crossroad. Next we have 18. 18. Do you remember what 18 was? 18 was our forever friend, the doggy. Next we have 20. 20. Oh, right. 2 times 10. This is our garden of clovers, if it makes it easy to remember. Next we have 4. 4 is our stability. It is our home, our safe space. Next we have 13. What happens at 13? We're no longer a child. So our child card is 13. We have 5. 5 is tree. And that is all of the ones we've learned so far. And y'all, we are through 24. There's only 12 cards left. That means 2 more of these videos and we will have learned all 36 cards. So let's get into the exercise we're going to do today. So last time we worked on significators, we did some 9 grids, things like that. We've been working our way up to bigger and more complicated spreads, but we have learned the pairs. So we can now mix and match and we can put pairs together so we know how to do combos. And remember, we've just added 6 more cards, so make sure you pull the cards out and practice your combos. Make sure that when you practice a combo, like what does this pair mean, you also reverse the combo, so you look at it both ways to see how it changes. So we've looked at pairs. We've also looked at 3-card spreads. We've also done 5 and 7 card spreads with the significator in the center, and we've done some mirroring. That's actually what we did last time. And then we've done 9-card spreads, right? 9-card grids. So today what we're going to do, I may have to actually zoom the camera out a little bit more, is we are going to work with houses. Now, houses becomes a lot easier and more realistic once you know all your numbers for what every card's number association is. So to make this a little easier, even though the deck itself isn't easy, I'm going to be pulling in some cards from my Burning Serpent Oracle. Now, this is a Robert M. Place, Rachel Pollack, Lenormand deck. It is based on Lenormand, but it also goes off in some cool directions. But anyways, I'm pulling this out because it's one of my larger, in fact, it is my largest Lenormand deck, and I feel like the large one will be handy for this exercise. But you don't have to lay the cards out like this. And these cards do have a slightly different naming system in a lot of the cards, but it should do the trick. So let's zoom out. Let's see. Okay. Let's see if this gives us enough space. All right, so what we're gonna do for houses is we're gonna lay out the first 9 cards in order. So we're gonna have the rider, the clover, and the ship. Underneath that, we're going to have the house, it's card 4, the tree, card 5, and the clouds, card 6. Then we're going to have the snake. In this deck, it's the Burning Serpent, the dead tree. This is confusing because it says it's a tree, but this is the coffin card. It's card 8. I mostly have this for the numbers. And then we have bouquet, which is card 9. So we have first 9 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now this is sort of meant to get us in the habit of looking at cards the way we would look at them in a bigger or tableau style spread. So we have card 1 is going to be like news, information, what's coming in. Clover, where do we find a little bit of luck? What is moving? What is transitioning, going on a journey? What is stable, secure? What do we need to know about what's in our home environment maybe? What's going on with health, longevity, and growth? What's going on with where an area maybe we've got some obscurity, we can't see very clearly? So again, I'm referring back to what these cards typically mean. The serpent, where is there some potential for manipulation? Where is there some sort of sneaky action happening, some betrayal? Where is there some negativity maybe? Then we have the coffin, or card number 8. This is what is ending maybe, or like that's kind of one way we can look at it. And then the bouquet, what is the big gift? What is the big, like the big moment of recognition, etc. So I'm going to do this in a general style reading, and I'm going to take the cards that we've used so far. So cards 1 through 24 are here shuffled together in my Grand Tableau Lenormand, which is probably my favorite for these like fancy vintage looking ones. We're going to shuffle this up and we're going to lay out 9 cards on top of these cards. So we're using these as houses. So they're going to give us sort of a flavor for each card and what it is telling us. So let's read this 9 card spread. Now, I first encountered this specific idea to take cards 1 through 9, lay them out in a grid, and do a reading with them from Tony Savory's video. I will link her video down below. Definitely recommend you check that out. She's actually where I think in the same video, she actually, because the tree is in this, you'll hear her talk about the tree in that negative light. Be aware that that's one take. It's not how I read it, but it is one take. I will also link down below actually a really good video series by Emily Rose Divination that's a few years old called Lightning Lenormand, where she goes through like really great descriptions for each of the cards in the Lenormand. If you have not found her videos yet, I'm going to link that playlist down below. Please also check it out. And as always with this series, you guys, if you come across a really great resource for Lenormand, please be sure and list it down below. Try to avoid putting links in your comments because those do tend to get blocked by YouTube. But in any case, let's go. So let's lay out our 9 card reading and practice 1 together. All right, and I just want to make sure that the number in the upper right corner is visible. I don't really care if the title is because we know our numbers now. So, all right. I like using different sized decks for this practice so that you can see the number of the card underneath. It's just convenient. Or the title. You can also just take a piece of paper and like write the name or the number of each house like up above, like where you would put your card. There's so many ways to do this. I just find using multiple decks for this to be convenient. Okay, so what I typically will do first when I do this is check to see if any cards are in the same number as their house. So we have birds in house 1, we have bear in house 2, heart in house 3, stork in house 4, tower in house 5, garden in house 6, house in house 7, child in house 8, and coffin in house 9. So one way to do this is to just think of the simplest, oh, sorry, let me finish that point. None of these are repeating. So we're not seeing like the clover in the clover house, for example. We're not seeing the ship in the ship house. Those kinds of things are things I might pay attention to as having extra emphasis or being like really underscored as important in a reading, but I'm not seeing any of that. So there's a few things I'm going to do first. First, we're just going to go through them one by one, and then we're going to look at any other significant things, patterns, maybe something based on what card is in the center or the corners, that sort of thing. But let's start from the basics. So we're just going to read across, and we're going to read across, and then we're going to read across. And we're not worried right now about combining the cards together. We're mostly worried about first combining the card with its house energy. So to begin with, we have birds in the house of the messenger. So what new information is coming our way? There's going to be a lot of communication heading in our direction. We have the card of chatter and small groups in the house of new information or communication. So we have like sort of a communication emphasis here. So there's going to be a lot of communication, perhaps a lot of listening we need to do, things like that. That's coming forward. Then we have the bear in the house of the clover. So we have this energy of like authority or management, and then this little bit of luck or a little bit of goodness. So we might get some good news from a boss or somebody who we perceive as being an authority. We could be getting some good news from a parent or some interesting, a small gift from a parent or an authority. There could be something positive coming our way from that source. Next, we have the ship. So the ship is something that is moving. It's going on a journey. What's going on a journey? The heart. So we're going on a journey. This could literally mean that we are going on to go on a bit of a car ride. Oh my God. Can you tell I have dogs? Going to go on a bit of a joyride with our partner, or maybe in the consequence of travel. Maybe we've got some travel coming up and there's going to be a lot of emotions around that, a lot of connecting around that. Next thing, we have the house. And in that we have the stork. So the stork brings change, migration. This could potentially signal a move. It could also signal that we're feeling some shifts and changes in our home environment. Maybe we've been literally moving the furniture around. Maybe we've got some new furniture coming in and some old furniture going out, but there's been a lot of that like sort of transitory energy at home. Could be also a family member is moving away or is having going through a big change right now. Next, we have the tower in the house of the tree. So the tree being about growth and longevity. And what do we have here? We have the tower. Now the tower for me represents not only structures and hierarchies and things of that nature, that sense of isolation, of course, but also this signifies for me like big business, corporations, that sort of thing. Now, in this case, when I see that growth card and then I think of this, it could, and also think of this in the terms of health, there could be a health reason why you might have to be staying in or isolating yourself some more. There might be some of that going on. Again, I'm just trying to take each one and consider how I might interpret it case by case. Next, we have the clouds. This is something we're not necessarily seeing clearly. There's an obscurity here. There's some confusion. What do we have confusion around? Ooh, the community. Like there might be some confusion within our community, our local community. There could be some obfuscation. Maybe there's some things that just, I don't know, there's some worry. Maybe it's like somebody hiding something. There's this mistrust perhaps, or lack of clarity within our community or in a community feel. Like could be our online community, could be in person. Down here we have the house in the literal card, the house, in the house of the snake or the serpent. So I'm looking at what could be, there could be like a hidden, not so much hidden. The snake isn't always hidden. There could be some negativity happening at home. Now with this, and then right above it, we had that stork in the house. I'm kind of looking at these two going, there's some shifts and changes. There's some unsettled energy around home here. We have the snake in the house here, and then we have the stork in the house here. So we have change and home, and then we have negative and home. So our home is in a sort of a negative space right now, plus there's change. Could be some unpleasantness going on in the home environment. And then over here we have the coffin, or something that is like, this is the dead tree, but which again, confusing, but it's card 8, that's the coffin. And then we have the child. So the child again is that energy of newness, of sort of risk, of taking chances, jumping into something new. So it could be that we were just about to start something new and it's dead in the water. Like it's not going. Maybe we had a new project idea. There was something we were going to throw ourselves into. And for some reason we've encountered a reason that it has to stop. And then finally, when we look at the bouquet, what do we have to be grateful for? Sort of what's the big gift of in our current moment? And it's the coffin, which is so interesting. But how could the coffin represent a gift or a big joy or a big happiness? Well, sometimes something ends. It could be that something really negative has finally come to an end. It's done. And that is something we have to be grateful for. So that's one set of interpretations, just individually looking at them. And so you're kind of pairing them in a way. You're seeing this energy. This is the sort of flavor of the energy, and this is the energy. So if the house is the energy, it's being flavored by the snake, right? It's being flavored in a negative way. If the birds, so this chatter, this communication is the energy, it's being flavored by, it's coming, this writer. So it's new information, it's coming into us, it's information coming to us, communication at us or in our direction. Does that make sense? So you're playing with the idea of the house creating the flavor or the vibe of that card. It's much like how in astrology, the planet is the main energy, but the house it's in will change how that planet behaves. I once had somebody describe this to me like, if you go to somebody's house, right, that you're going to behave differently in somebody else's house than you will your own house. So you're going to be a certain kind of relaxed in your own home, but you're going to go to somebody else's home and you're going to have a slightly different energy. Well, that's what the houses in Lenormand, in my view, kind of do. They provide a flavor and energy to that card. So you sort of take it in as a flavor, but you let the card be center stage. So this isn't about a voyage. It's about our sense of love or caring towards somebody else, but it's impacted or flavored by the voyage, right? Or by the ship in this case. Sorry, I've got to be careful to call these cards the right thing. Here, the confusion or the obscurity isn't the main event. The community is the main focus of this card, but it's being flavored by some obscurity or some confusion or some troubledness. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how you want to view it. So now we look to the center of this spread. In the center, we have the tree. This is the growth space. This is also where we're going to find our significator, who is our tower. So now let's let the houses kind of recede into the background a little bit here and look primarily at the cards and see if anything sort of cohesively comes together. Now that we've sort of taken a little bit of the flavor, the temperature with the houses, let's sort of look at our reading in general. So the reading seems to center around maybe a need to sort of pull ourselves back from, maybe isolate ourselves a bit, pull ourselves back, have better boundaries. We read in the one book that you can look to the cards surrounding the tower to tell you where you might need better boundaries. Let's think about that for a second. So maybe our querent, or our pretend querent here, needs better boundaries with community. Well, why might that be? Well, we have some confusion or troubling energy in that community. Well, we might need to pull ourselves back. Maybe there's some drama going on in the community and we need to kind of pull ourselves back, have better boundaries between ourselves and community. What else could be, you know, we could be getting some gossip, right? Up here in the top corner over here next to the tower, we have the birds and that rider. Maybe people are bringing us their drama, bringing us their gossip, but we don't have all the facts, right? There's confusion. There's a troubled mind. So we need better boundaries maybe with this community. Where else might we need better boundaries? Well, maybe around the areas of goings on in our family. So it could be that the community we're speaking of is family. House energy is very much family energy. And we have house as the position, like the house is here, house as the house. And then down here we have house as the card. And house as the card is in the house of the snake. Hopefully you all are staying with me. Are you staying with me? So there's this negative aspect to what's going on in family or home. And up here we have a lot of changes going on in family and home. Maybe we need to have a little bit of more boundaries with family. Maybe family is going through some upheaval at the moment and we need to stay out of it, right? Because down below that we have some newness, perhaps even some naiveness or fool energy, child energy, and it's in the house of the coffin. Like that needs to end. Maybe we need to take off our rose-colored glasses, be a little less naive. That naivete needs to end. That's what needs to end here. And so we need to have more boundaries, again, around the situation. The gift could be something, again, something ending. Maybe the fact that the naivete, since these two are right next to each other, maybe it's the naivete needs to end, right? And that's going to be a good thing. When you look at these together, all together, right? We have coffin and child, and then we have coffin and bouquet in the house of the bouquet. So we look at these as a combination, right? The child next to the coffin, with the coffin being the sort of final take on this 2-card pair. The coffin is the end of this child energy. So we see this child energy ending because we see that here. We also see that child energy ending because the child is in the house of the coffin. Again, in this deck, it's called the dead tree. But the fact that the bouquet is our final house tells us that that end is taking us in the right direction. That is a positive change. So getting rid of that naivete is going to be very, very positive. And let's see, what else did we address so far in this way? Up above, we have a little bit of authority, bringing us something good. So this might be the one area, if you think about a tower, right? Where are you? If you're standing on top of the tower, you're protected on all sides except for above you. What don't you need protection from? And this idea of the bear being that protective energy, that sort of like in command energy, this is up above you, or our pretend querent, right? And it's a good thing. There's a little bit of goodness in being a little bit strong here, being a little bit powerful, being a little bit tough. And so it's like, this is the one energy I feel like that is coming down into the tower, is like, this is what you need to embrace. This is what you need boundaries around, right? And finally, we have that caring and this journey. So now that I'm looking at it in context with the querent and what we have going on here, I'm picking up on some significant family, maybe even extended family drama and discord. Based on all of this, that's kind of what I'm putting together, right? There might be some strain on a relationship and a little bit of distance from the person who maybe you have the best relationship with out of this community group is going to actually be healthier for you in the long run. A need for all of these boundaries. A need to recognize that the naivete and the rose-colored glasses need to come off. So do you see kind of how I was able to sort of put that all together? And I found it more helpful. Once you can wrap your head around how the houses sort of flavor the card on top, you sort of start to wrap your head around, you're really not piecemealing it the way I did in the beginning, right? Where you're like, okay, well, in the house of the writer, we have birds. So there's, like we did in the beginning, you're sort of now bringing it in to tell a story by looking at what's interacting with what, where is it coming from? And then from here, if you want to go even deeper, you can start to go, okay, look at these 3 cards. What do those tell you? These 3 cards, these 3 cards, these 3 cards, these 3 cards, these 3 cards. You can do the knighting. You can do your corners. You can pair your opposite corners. So gossip needs to come to an end. You compare these 2 corners, right? This is about caring that's connected to family or connected to house. So again, this tells me there's a family member involved who we deeply care about. So I've gotten all of this context by just kind of going through it and breaking it into its pieces and then starting to build and put it together. And I think this is one of the things that I love about Lenormand is that we can continue to build layer upon layer upon layer. So let's do another one and try to be a little quicker about it now that we sort of understand the house's function. And again, this is just my take. I still consider myself very much a Lenormand newbie. So if you know more about how to do this, if you've got feedback, please don't hesitate to share. Let's pull another 9 cards from our deck now that we've worked with all of those. And since we didn't have any repeating numbers, we may have a higher chance of that coming up this time. So let's just see what happens. So I'm going to put our center in first, and then I'm going to build the cards around it. That's just how I felt like doing it this time. No particular reason. Okay. So now our central card is the ship. So we have growth and health, and we have movement and a journey. So we have a journey, a health journey going on. So I feel like this might be about, in general, the focus of this reading is going to be on improving health, like going on a health journey, by which I mean consciously moving to improve your health. That's kind of the focus of the reading now for me in my brain. So now I'm going to kind of look at this a little differently. I'm going to attack or tackle, I don't know what the right word is, this spread the way I might normally if I wasn't going through this methodical study situation. And I'm going to look at, okay, what is within our control within this health journey? And right up above, we have the mountain in the house of the clover. So to me, the mountain is about recognizing that a health journey is a long, slow build, but it gives us rewards, little ones, along the way. So while let's say we're on a health journey and our ultimate goal is to be able to run a marathon, well, we recognize that the mountain is telling us, okay, it's going to be a long, slow journey. But along the way, we're going to have improved health. We're going to have better breathing. We're going to have better energy, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like it's kind of like, it's a long climb, but it's going to give us little gifts along the way, the little clovers. Okay, then I'm going to look at what maybe am I less aware of. So underneath this, so I kind of see this as like, we're very aware of this. This is like conscious. We know. Down here, we have things that we might be less aware of, but also we could have things down below that are well within our control. And here we have the coffin and we have clouds. So clouds are that card of confusion, obfuscation. What are some of my other words I have here? Card 6, doubt. Okay, so underneath this, in the house of the coffin, so what needs to end? Our doubt. So this tells me that it's within our control to nip our self-doubt in the bud when it comes to a health journey. You following? Okay, then I'm going to look at these cards as being sort of the past. What do we need to leave behind? So we have the fox in the house of the rider. So the fox, let's go to my card here. My keywords are strategic, manipulative, cunning, entrepreneur. This to me is like, stop thinking we can game our health. Like, it's not so simple as that. Like, maybe not trying to be so tactical, but actually feel our way through. So this tells me that, like, in the past, there's been a tendency to maybe be tactical about health things, but we need more than that. We need to do something different. So we'll look at the future in a second, like what to focus on instead. But in the past, we have the fox as bringing us information. So we have that sort of control bringing us information. Down below that, again, I don't know if you have to be in my brain for any of this to make sense, but hopefully it's helping for me to process out loud. Directly behind us, we have stars. Stars are all about spreading. It's also about hopes and wishes at home. This is interesting. It's kind of like you can make all the wishes you want about better health, but if you stay in your comfort zone, that's our house. If you stay in your comfort zone, nothing's going to actually change, right? Then finally, down here in the bottom corner, we do have an emphasized card because we have the snake in the house of the snake. The snake in the house of the snake. So this is betrayal. This is lies. This is negativity. So we can see this is like bad habits, the things that we know we're doing that are not serving us, right? So this is something that is in our past, right? If our health journey and goals is sitting here in the center and our awareness of what it's going to take to make changes is here, then this is what we've done in the past or what hasn't worked. And one of the things that hasn't worked is letting all of the habits, the negative patterns continue, right? It would have been even cooler, I think, to see the broom and the whip in here, but this emphasized snake energy definitely tells us there's a little bit of dishonesty going on. Could be the way we were talking to ourselves and how we're rationalizing things, that kind of thing. I'm just kind of throwing random things out there based on what pops into mind. Next, let's move to the future. So we have garden in the house of the ship. We have bouquet in the house of the clouds, and we have clover in the house of the bouquet. Really, really cool. So up ahead, we know we have some choices to make, right? We have the paths card. Which way are we going to go? We get to choose the direction we're going to move in, but then we need to stay the course and stay on the ship. You don't want to hop out while the ride is still in motion, right? You want to think about the long term. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Make a decision, pick a path, and then see where that path takes you. Actually go on the journey. Don't just like spin your wheels in the present. Next, we have bouquet. So we have a big recognition, a big gift, a big bit of goodness. It could be clouded though. We might have worry about it. What does life look like if we actually get what we want out of this? Do we have doubt about the process and whether it's like worth it? There could be things like that, some mentality stuff we still need to kind of knock out of the way. But at the end of the day, because I kind of see this as like, what's the big takeaway? What's the gift if we're going on this health journey, right? This healing journey, is we have both little and big positivity, the little clover, the little bit of good, and the long-term good, or the big good. So we have a little good and big good. We're going to get both regular little benefits day to day in our life if we make some of these changes and kind of stay the course, but we're also going to see a bigger benefit overall as well. So we have positive. So again, just meant to kind of show you different ways you can engage with this. And a lot of it is going to depend. Did you go into it general like I did, or did you ask a specific question? If you go in general, you can let whatever card falls in the center be that area of like, where do I need to see growth, right? And then you can flavor in the house, or you could just let it be open and then just remember that that tree is going to flavor that card a bit. Hopefully that makes sense. Now you can also do this. I'm going to show you one more way you can do this. But I'm not going to do a whole sample reading. I just want to show you. Another fun way to work with houses in this way and to kind of get your feet wet with them is to take an entire deck of any size or whatever and shuffle it out. Let's just do this with 3 cards actually, because I'm probably going to want to talk my way through it. So let's do 3 cards. So I'm going to pull 3 cards with Burning Serpent, just being aware that the card titles are a little wonky here, but 3 cards with Burning Serpent. And I'm going to actually place them face down initially. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to shuffle my 24 Lenormand cards that we're working with right now. This is the entire deck. I should have separated it out. Actually, let me peek. No, I don't want to peek because I don't want to mess up the test. Okay, actually, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. All right, so I'm going to lay 3 cards down on top, and this is our 3-card Lenormand reading. We have Clover, Mice, and Rider. So we have a little bit of luck. Something is eating away. Something is eating away at our luck. What the heck, man? Something's eating away at our luck. And that thing that's eating away at our luck there's something we're supposed to learn or gain from that or understand about that. There's some information about that. That doesn't feel right. Let me see. Rider can also be, it's not going to be around for long. The rider is a short visitor. He doesn't stick around. He doesn't stay. So there's a short-term source of stress that is eating away at our happiness or causing us some stress that's eating away at this little bit of positivity or luck we've got going on right now. So that's how I might interpret that, but it's not going to stick around for long. This is a temporary situation. So that's what I got from these 3 cards. So now let's flip the houses and see how or if that changes anything. So we have Clover in the house of the stork. We have Mice in the house of the tree. And we have the Rider in the house of the heart. Okay, so let's take this into account. So same concept. The reading itself is still the same, sort of. Now we've got flavor. So now the mice is the stress that is eating away at our happiness and causing changes, maybe unwanted changes in our life right now. Well, actually, wait, let me stop. We have change and a little bit of luck. This is a positive change. So we were in the middle of a positive change, not a negative change. We're in the middle of a positive change, but some worries about health have been eating away at change. Perhaps, like, let's say we were planning a big household move, right? And then we got sick. We're like, dang it, I've got to do this move and it's a good thing, but like being sick is like really messing it up. It's causing me unnecessary stress. What if I'm not well on the day the movers come? What if I have to get on a plane? What if I'm not well enough? Et cetera, right? Over here, though, we have the Rider in the house of the heart, right? This is a short-term situation. I'm going to be good. And this is going to ultimately be positive. Like the heart is a positive card. It could be that the reason it's not going to stick around long is because we're going to have the support of somebody who cares about us to help us through so that this stress won't have to be here for very long. Does that make sense? Now, you obviously don't have to hide the cards. That's just a bit of an exercise. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, let's pull 3 cards. And if we get any repeats, I'm going to actually swap those out too because I just want to get some new energy to play with. Okay, so we have bouquet. We've already gotten that. Let's get something different. Okay, we have the ring. No, we haven't covered the ring yet. Shoot. Okay, mountain. We have mountain. Next, we haven't covered fish. Next, we have heart. We've got some repeats. We'll deal. Okay, and then we have mice. Okay. So those are our houses we're going to play with. I'm not going to try to read these. These are just flavor cards. They're not the actual reading. So next, let's put 3 cards over top. All right, what do we got? We have tree, whip, brim and whip, and ship. Okay, so let's read these together. So we have a long uphill climb when it comes to growth or health, coupled with some, now these two can mean a couple different things. This can be a pattern that's showing up in our relationship because we have the house of the heart and it's a pattern or something recurrent. Typically, these are not always good patterns, but they're definitely something we keep doing the same way over and over again. But we have some patterns, some relational patterns. This could also be sex in this context, depending on your situation, because we have repeat, 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 and the heart, right? And then we have a journey in the house of the mice. So there's perhaps some stress about that journey. There's perhaps this, this is the subject. The journey is the subject, not the mice. The mice is the flavor. So we have a journey, but there might be a stressful component to that journey. So now let's take a look at it again. With that in mind, what changes about the way I might read these 3 cards? I would go, okay, we're trying to improve our health. For some reason, I'm stuck in health as a subject for this reading, so we're just going to roll with it. We're trying to improve our health. Maybe we've got a cruise coming up, and we're a little bit worried that we're not going to have very much fun on the cruise if we don't get ourselves like in shape first, right? So we're trying to improve our health, but it's been really kind of slow going. We're making small changes, but we're not seeing a lot of immediate impacts. There's like a bit of, it's a slog. It's a bit of a grind. I'm seeing that. There's a health grind going on here, right? Maybe you're just stuck in a habit of like, always snacking too much at home with your partner when you watch TV together or something. And you're trying to like rein some of that in so you can have a good time on your trip. Like I personally would say to hell with it, do what you want, have fun anyways. But that's not the point. The point here is we're trying to deal with why are we worried about this trip? Where is the stress about this trip coming from? Well, it's coming from the heart of the reading, which is sitting here, which is that negative pattern we're maybe a little bit stuck in with our closest person or people. And so we're feeling like we're like in this thing. This could also actually, if you want to get real literal with this could literally mean that the thing that we are trying to focus on the most right now is cardio, heart exercise, something we're doing again and again and again and again to improve our heart health. So it could be that we just want to have more energy when our trip comes, but it's just going so slow. There's this slow work, right? So I might even with something like this, like pull something for extra context. Okay, well, this is sort of giving us a read on the situation. What can we do differently? What should we do differently? Tower, mountain, and paths. We need to sort of pull back, maybe isolate ourselves a little bit less in the social engagements. Recognize that we will have obstacles, but we've also got choices. I mean, I'm just rolling with it. I'm just playing. I mean, like any divination system you can play, but you want to get comfortable with playing with the idea of houses because that is where we're ultimately going when we get into the grand tableau. The way the grand tableau, if you haven't heard of it, the grand tableau, I'll show you what one looks like, is when you lay out all 36 cards in this pattern and those 36 positions, all of those are houses, right? So they all matter for the reading. They all have a role to play. So knowing the numbers, so you always know what house you're looking at, you can count it in, right? Knowing your numbers, knowing the houses, and learning and practicing combining cards with the house beneath them is really, really great. And like I said, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can read the card and its house in combination in any spot. You can combine these into sort of one meaning and then layer them with the cards that are around. You can do a bit of both. There's all kinds of different things you can do. You can look to a specific house to understand what's going on in that situation. So if you've laid out a tableau, a bunch of cards, you can let the house sort of lead the reading. I'm going to show you one more thing. And then I really got to wrap this up because, oh my gosh, this one has gotten long. Okay, so we haven't covered that card, so I'll pull it out. Okay, so you might go to, this is just house 2 and 3. Let's just stop there. You might go to the clover to go, what is going to bring me just a little joy in this moment? Like where am I experiencing a little bit of luck, or where can I experience a little bit of luck right now? And the card that happens to be sitting there is the Tower. And I would immediately go, well, you'll probably have some pretty good luck getting some things done that involve getting through any red tape right now. You're probably going to have an easier way through that red tape. Maybe it's time to get that passport application in. It'll probably go pretty smooth for you. Or this could also be, because I saw this as like red tape and like structures. This could also be about, you might experience some really good luck in your corporate job. This might be a good time to go ahead and request that review and get your raise taken care of, et cetera, right? For the ship, you might go, what journey am I on right now, or what journey am I about to go on? That could be, and I'm just riffing, y'all. I'm not saying this is the only way. And we have the mice. Well, we're going to be seeing some stresses that have been really just weighing on us, moving along. Those are going to be moving along. It's not us that's going to be going anywhere, but our stress is going to be going. So what's going to be going? Stress. Stress is going to be going because we have the mice. Right? So you could do this any number of ways. Let's just do one more. Okay. Oh, of course, it's going to be, oh, this is like the child card. Okay, what's new? Where should I look at new beginnings? What's new? So that's the child card, card 13. Again, it's kind of strange in this deck, but stars. Ooh, maybe we need to be more willing to put ourselves out there, be more of that fool energy when it comes to networking, sticking our neck out, connecting with new people. Maybe it's more about daring to dream, letting ourselves be in that sort of youthful, anything is possible mindset. That stars card is all about wishes and dreams, but also about being connected. So just food for thought, right? Like, so again, let yourself play. It's really easy to get hung up on what the right way is. And I think whatever way leads you to the answers you need is the right way for you. The trick is to make sure that you can show your work to yourself when it comes to Lenormand. I find that really helpful. Can I make a case for this card, meaning these two cards together, the stars and the child? That's interesting that that combo came up again. The stars and the child being about letting yourself be in that youthful, anything is possible space. Yeah, I can absolutely make a case for that. What about the scythe and the tower? There's this idea of an ending maybe causes us to pull back and isolate ourselves a little bit. But as long as it makes sense to me, right? The mice and the path, some stressful choices coming up, right? As long as it makes sense to you and you can work with it, you're on the right track. So this month, oh my goodness, until we have another one of these, your job is to get to know cards 19 through 24 and get comfortable. Get more comfortable with what those mean, but then play around with this idea of houses. Try the 9-card house spread with cards 1 through 9. So that's rider, clover, ship, house, tree, clouds, snake, coffin, bouquet. Lay those out, lay cards on top, or take a piece of paper and write the numbers down so you remember what's what. And experiment with doing some readings by pulling in that house energy and seeing if that feels like a useful practice to you, if that feels like something you'd go back to. Because that's ultimately the question, right? Is this something you're going to go back to and continue to use? I don't know. But you won't know if you don't try. And the thing is like, just because you can or learn how to do things like 9-card spreads and pull in houses and do grand tableaus doesn't mean you have to. But I would definitely encourage you as you're like learning and playing to give yourself that permission to experiment, to try things, to see what you like, to see what works, to see what you want to be able to go back to, or what you want to practice more of. It's really, really useful. For me today, I still use Lenormand cards the most by literally just pulling out and doing the significator and being like, okay, what do I need to know about work right now? And I'm going to use the tower to represent work just because I'm thinking about the work, not any people or anything. What's going on with work right now? And so I'm just going to shuffle. Oopsies. I'm just going to shuffle and I'm going to flip cards until I see the tower. And then I'm just going to pull a card to either side. Okay. Yep. Like there's something new going on at work and new information coming. These are both cards that really relate to new. Something new is coming in, right? Some changes, some shifts, etc. Like I do a lot of quick fire readings like that for myself all the time. So food for thought. Hopefully this was helpful in some way. As always, I will try to remember to have all my resources linked down below. This one is out of print, this Burning Serpent, and I would not at all suggest it for a learner. It's something that I keep because it's really, really cool and it's got so many layers, but it's not something I work with a ton. I definitely huge recommend Grand Tableau Lenormand, and of course Bunny Kisses Lenormand is super cute, and y'all know I love the cute little Lenormand. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, y'all. I will see you in the next one. Until then, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.